Dan, who is calling in from Canada. We got a couple Canada folks tonight. Dan, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Sorry you're infested with Canucks.
That's okay. I'm happy to be infested. If I could choose my infestation, Canadians would be up there for sure.
It is the most polite infestation possible.
Well, I was curious as to what your guys' take on well-documented and still unexplained events would be, and if any of them lend credence to the appropriate spooky subset of things.
Can you give an example?
Absolutely. So, keeping it Canadian, the Shag Harbor Incident was a UFO incident where multiple people documented what was originally thought to be a plane going down into the ocean. Multiple agencies, Navy, Coast Guard, etc., all searched, came up empty, and the FAA didn't record any missing aircraft on the East Coast. So, not Canadian or American aircraft.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at this one. You know, I try to know, like, I don't know. I know about a lot of famous historical UFO stuff. I try to keep up with it because I know eventually people are going to ask me on the show about, oh, what do you think about XYZ? This is one I'm not familiar with, like, at all. So I'm just briefly scanning the Wikipedia article here. It seems like what you're telling me lines up with what's here. And yeah, that's kind of crazy. I don't know. I think when it comes to stuff like this, we talked about this a little bit last week, but I have to fall on the null hypothesis first, right? Which is that I have to assume there's no connection first, rather than there must be a connection in causal events. And in general, I think that principle can lead you to better reasoning, because you find out that human beings are pattern-seeking monsters that we are, and we just want to make connections out of everything. And so because of that, there's a lot of weird ideas out there that are oftentimes not true. Aliens, at least aliens being around Earth and doing stuff and taking people or doing whatever, might be one of them. In fact, I do think it is one of them. So this is definitely an unexplained event. I don't know if the proposed solutions are the most likely. There might be some stuff we just will never know, but I don't know. I don't know if it would convince me. What do you think, J.L? What do you think would convince you?
So I got to go with you on that. I got to agree with you. I'd start with the null hypothesis. And try to dig into it as much as you can, and determine, like, what information is reliable. It's okay. So I wasn't familiar with this one, with the Shag Harbor incident over off Nova Scotia. Another one that kind of gets me kind of in the same vein as you is the Rendlesham Forest incident. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, Dan.
I am.
Okay, so
British soldiers came across. Well, U.S. soldiers on a British base.
Right. So because that one was never fully explained as well. And there's a lot of really, really weird evidence that's attached to that. Now, does that make me believe, despite, the weird evidence and the reports that came out and the witnesses that were supposedly there, does that make me believe that aliens came down here and landed on this planet? No, because there's a number of other things of terrestrial explanations that we have to eliminate before we can go into the territory and say that it is likely possible that a spacefaring race that has literally either conquered physics or conquered biology itself has made its way to this planet to visit us. So that's where you got to go without diving. And then, if you try to get around that, you're going to go into huge conspiracy tunnels like, oh, but they're already here. They're in the center of the earth. And it just gets kind of wildly out of control. So I would say we start with what we know and what we know can be possible. And when we have governments that are fully capable of losing nuclear weapons, like over off the coast of South Carolina, and not tell anybody about it until way later. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we lost a nuke over there. That was really bad. And they didn't, when stuff like that happens, you have to say that, yeah, likely something did occur. People at Shag Harbor did have an experience. They saw something. The question is, are they interpreting what they saw correctly? That's the key. And so we got to start from that one. So it would take something really extreme, extreme claims require that extreme evidence. And it would take something really heavy. We're talking Independence Day style, through the clouds, here they come, that kind of thing too. It's for me to go, like, oh, okay, so aliens do in fact exist. So, but yeah, the bigger the claim, the more extreme the claim, the more extreme the evidence, to kind of paraphrase, to butcher Carl Sagan there. So
I think you're absolutely right, Joe. It really boils down to, like, okay, do we have real positive proof on this, or do we have a lot of circumstantial evidence? You know what I mean? With aliens, it's a lot of circumstantial stuff. Now, granted, stuff like probably Shag Harbor and other stuff, there is a lot of people that are really convinced that this is what happened. But we never have the smoking gun. We never have a ship. We never have a body of an alien. We never have any of the stuff that would absolutely, I mean, you'd be out of your mind to say is fake, or, makes that possibility become absolutely the case. Instead, it's always just sightings, or it's always just, questionable videos or photos. And if it's always going to be that way, I don't think I could ever believe that it's going to be aliens, because I really wouldn't have reason to.
And even within a kind of Independence Day scenario, there's still a lot of things you got to eliminate from there. It's kind of like there's so many variables in order to get down to like this most extreme thing, and given the level of it. And it was like, while I agree, I will say my position is the same. I can't remember who said it originally, but my position is that the mathematics of the universe virtually guarantee that we are not alone. But those same mathematics virtually guarantee that we will never meet them. So that's kind of in the position that
interdimensional beings,
unless they're, you could go a number of ways, or they've conquered biology. They've conquered their own biology, or they've conquered physics in and of itself. Basically meaning that they know an aspect of physics that we don't have access to. And so they've done things with it. They found ways to utilize physics in a way that is beyond our comprehension. So
it's still possible.
Yeah. So in that respect, given that, like I said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And I got to rest on that, be like, we can't make these giant leaps until we have something substantial to stand on. Otherwise, like Mario, we're just going to boop and, doop, and that's going to be it. To do a little game.
I mean, that's a very fair place to be. I'm just looking at U.S. government coming out with unidentified footage of aerial craft and unexplained events, and I'm just wondering if it's worth keeping the idea and not just dismissing it at first blush.
Agreed.
Well, when David Grush can actually show us a UFO instead of just saying he's seen UFOs, then right? Like, don't even get me started on the whole UAP Congress stuff. But I know I totally get it. Should it be a possibility within our minds? Yeah, I think it should remain a possibility. But there's a difference between possibility and most likely, right? And so far, I have yet to encounter any event I've ever read about, anything that remotely comes close to an experience of extraterrestrial in origins, as being like that being the most likely thing happening in that. Right. Like, even with all the most recent stuff, it's still very circumstantial. The Congress stuff, they didn't even show anything. It was just eyewitness testimony. They said that they would have special counsel afterwards and, have these talks and stuff and show. But so far, that hasn't publicly come out. Only select footage and, of course, the testimony of people, which is still questionable, But anyway, that's my take, Dan. What do you think?
Which Dan?
Well, if I'm the one saying that's my take, Dan, what do you think? I think that means you.
Sorry.
You're good.
Hard to keep voices straight.
No, I know that's what happened, but I just thought it'd be funny to say that. Anyway, go ahead, Dan.
No, I mean, you're right. Probably something much more terrestrial crashed to the Earth. But with keeping an open mind these days, I'm not willing to rule out it couldn't have been an engineered craft from an outside source.
No, but part of keeping an open mind is considering the other natural possibilities too, right?
Yeah.
Or more, shall we say, worldly understandings.
That's the thing that gets kind of hairy is like, yes, is it logically possible? Like, is it an event that could happen? Certainly, a life form somewhere else traveling to another planet. We are life forms. We've traveled to we've traveled or sent things to other planets, to other planets, to the moon. So we know that this is a logical possibility. The logical possibility says nothing to the probability of it. So the probability, but given the mathematics of the universe, that probability is extraordinarily low almost to the point of almost inconceivable. But you never know. But like I said, we don't have access to all the information, so we have to kind of like take it, really, really take it with a grain of salt. Like, people in Congress saying things is people in Congress saying things. People in Congress say lots of things. Whether they do something or present something is a different story altogether. And so, yeah. So when I see an alien craft or one comes out of the sky, or all of a sudden I wake up and I'm on the ship on the table and they're looking at me with that probe, then I'll know what's up.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time, and yeah, I just hope something interesting happens without the end of the world.
I gotcha. Anything else you want to add there? I'm going to call you Canadan. That way we can get ourselves different. But I feel like we talked a lot there. I just want to make sure you didn't have anything else you wanted to add on that conversation.
Not too much. I just, for my own reasons, am keeping some of the more fun things in mind as possibilities these days.
Okay.
But yeah, there are a few truly unexplained events that I've found interesting, and they keep the hope of a weird explanation alive.
Okay. All right. Well, don't do a God of the Gaps, but with aliens is my only advice. Okay. Right. Don't let maybe possibly it could be turn into it is this, right? Like, that's all I got to say on that.
I recognize I'm with you right there. Canadan, I'm right with you there. There is a kind of a joy in the possibility and a joy in the not knowing. And then it's been my experience, oftentimes, more often than I would like my experience, that when the explanation comes out, it's like a magic trick. It's like, once it's explained to you, it's kind of like, bummer. It's like, it's so simple, or it's like so obvious once you know. And then sometimes it's more fun to not know and to kind of like conduit, because that's where our storytelling comes from. That's where our legends come from. And so whether it's the Rendlesham Forest incident or the Chicago O'Hare incident or the nuclear test facility incident, there's so many that you could shake a stick at. But the question then remains, like, what actually happened? And so whether it's, but like I said, I agree with I almost called you Jamie, Dan. Sorry about that. But I agree with Dan here in that don't jump to the gaps argument. Don't jump to aliens because aliens can't be eliminated. Just because you really, really want them to be true. I understand the joy that comes out of it. I do. But keep that reined in.
Gotcha. All right, Canadan, I do have to let you go because we are running out of time on this show. But thank you so much for calling in.